Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Ben, back here again to talk more about how we, in fact, do have potential for prosperity. Let's go ahead and dive right into this episode. I was super excited about it yesterday. I'm a little bit tired today, but things are going to go smoothly. And I wanted to do this no matter what because I feel like today I really needed this. As you guys know, cliffhanger on last episode, we are now getting into the mission field, and these are Elder Barnes' first impressions of the mission field. And then we got quite a bit to read, and then we got a massive email to read. So hopefully I can get through this in a decent amount of time. I don't want to take too much time today. And anyways, let's go ahead and get right into it. Hold on. This is my drink for today, ladies and gentlemen. Day 44, October 18th, 2022. My journal entry number 13. Breath, blood, sweat, and tears. It rained today. I left the MTC and said some goodbyes and was left heartbroken. It's hard having faith when I don't understand the 3 other guys I am living with. Our house is third world. It has humbled me to my core. They call me rich, but without the ability to communicate, I am poor. It's been really hard. Portuguese is muito difícil, and no easy. My companion thinks I can understand, but I can't. I know the only words I am hearing are the Spirit. We reached out to 4 people today, and we are expected to baptize 1 person a month. Meu companheiro has baptized 15 people in 5 months. He is although fluent. I could dream of a hug from my mom right now. The culture shock is real. I feel so lost. I don't know where to start. My card from the church isn't working. I am doing God's work. I know why I am here. Elder Ibrahim, I am going to name drop him because he's amazing and he deserves it. He's amazing. Not trying to compare to anybody, but he was potentially my best companion. He's a brother to me. He's an incredible human being. And he helped me through clearly a time that could have been the hardest time of my life. I hope you guys know, up until this moment, into this very moment, my brain was fully convinced I was going to the big city, Rio, like with the big city buildings and that. Rio was like New York, but on a nice, awesome beach. And that was going to be my mission. That's what I believed. I genuinely had no idea. This is the next day. Day 45, October 19th, 2022. My journal entry 14. Yesterday was the hardest day of my life. Hoje foi o melhor. I woke up forgetting where I was. I prayed for a good day. I felt lost and confused. Depois, eu li my old journals from home, which means like after I read my old journals from home. I then opened a page in my study journal from the CTM. It was the advice from Giovanni. Wake up every day smiling. Be happy. It hit my heart. So Giovanni was the first Brazilian I ever met in my life, and he was at the gym, and I had a Brazil tank top, and he was like, "Hey, love your tank top," but in Portuguese, and I was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Oh, you don't speak Portuguese?" I was like, "No." And we ended up talking about how I was going to Rio, because I already knew by then, and he just said, "Hey, if I have any advice for you, it's just wake up every day smiling. Be happy." And I went home and I wrote it down. I still just felt as though the language was impossible and hopeless. Then, during study time, my companheiro picked up his guitar and started playing Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. I held back tears as this song was one of my favorites and my dad's, and reminded me who I was there. My comp and the other guys said we were going. Together? Where? Clueless, I hopped in an Uber. We were going to a member's house where we ate some amazing food. Even though I hardly spoke or understood, I felt a little better. Then we walked this dirt road, and for the first time I saw a horse. Reminded me of my sister. Then I saw 3 dogs just like my dogs. Just stray dogs. Also reminded me of home. Then after a long day of knocking, walking, and trying to speak, me and my companion visit one last house. I was so tired and was hoping to just go home. This lady opened the door, and the love of Christ filled my heart. She had the biggest smile and had lost contact with the missionaries a while back. We joined her on her patio on the 2nd floor, where adorable children surrounded us. They were so happy for the nothing they had. My comp spoke to them, gave the lesson, and I gave a bunch of smiles. By the end, we had scheduled 3 baptisms, and for the day, possibly 5. I held back tears the entire 45-minute interaction. I felt the Spirit so strongly. We taught a shirtless cigarette addict, a recently baptized member, a woman who called us angels and we didn't even mean to run into her, a deaf old lady who let us come sit with her, and an entire family. Only 2 no's/go-aways. Best day ever. Beautiful city, amazing people. I am comfortable. Now, look, these first journal entries, because we're now into the mission field, I have to just give all this backstory and just tell you exactly these little details that I've left out, because these were just writing to myself, right? Missionaries in general walk ridiculously quick. I think that's just a general thing. And so Elder Ibrahim is like sprinting to me, and I'm like this big, I weighed like 200 and, okay, by the time I got to the mission, I weighed 200. But when I was in MTC, before the MTC, I weighed 220. So I weighed 200 pounds when I got there. and he's just like speeding down the road, just like hauling, like he's just going. And I'm like, and I remember it was so bad that he would just walk, he'd get like 10 feet in front of me, and I had to run and catch up because he would tell me, Elder, não pode ficar atrás. Elder, vem. And it was just a rule, like, you can't stay behind your comp that far. You can't be that far apart. I mean, you can. I found out later, but you can't, right? And I'm glad that I was taught that way because I just was always sticking with him and I was running to catch up. And then I'm like, and then he's running. I'm like, and I'm wearing these trash, just horrific, bad, like grateful that we had them. Oh my gosh, amen. But horrible dress shoes, right? That just break my feet. And so then this day was my first real day. And boy, oh boy, my companion, Elder Ibrahim, was the most hardworking and dedicated missionary like I'd ever met. He was just immediately out the house, like the second we could be. He's like, let's go, Elder. And like, it's my first day. I'm like clueless. And I'm so grateful that he taught me this way because I continued it. I definitely did in his honor, Ibrahim. But he drags me out of the house. We go and visit like literally over the whole course of the day, probably like 20 to 30 different like homes. And we made like talk to so many different people. And I was just like, oh, and I just didn't know anything. You're like wanting to go home and you're still an hour and a half walking from home and you're like, oh, and you're so tired. And your comp's like, we just have this last visit and we'll go. And like Ibrahim, like I love him because here's the thing, guys. He was tough love, but he was also like my best friend, right? In the beginning, this is just going to be tough love. Like you'll see as we become like besties and stuff. But the tough love was actually my most special thing. And I'm so grateful he did that to me because he showed me that, dude, I love you and you're my companion, but I don't give a crap if you don't want to work because I'm here to work. Like, and it was just like that mentality was in his head. And he was already showing me by example, which is way better than just words, that, hey, by the way, we work in this mission. You know, we're out here to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to serve the Lord. And we're going to do it as hard and as well as we can. So, you know, lock in and get ready because it's going to be a bumpy ride. Like that's kind of what he was just saying all the time to me, you know, always walking quickly. He never slowed down for me. He never made it easy on me. He never once was like I could say as many complaints as I want and be like so tired. And I didn't even know he spoke that much English. I found out later he's literally fluent English and lived in the US for like years. But anyways, like he just was hard on me and I'm grateful for it. You know, here comes the coincidence. I said, I am comfortable. And in my mission from then on, in every single transfer and every conversation I had with the president, it was like the meme in the mission was president would ask us if we were comfortable. And if we were, we would get transferred. So everyone said, no, I'm not comfortable because president lived by the fact that if you are comfortable, you are not growing. The mission is supposed to be hard. He said, if you are comfortable, he's like, you're just taking a 2-year vacation to Rio. He's like, if you are comfortable, you are not being a missionary. Like that was his mentality. If we ever said we were comfortable, he transferred us immediately. Day 46, October 20th, 2022. My journal entry number 15. Well, today was rough. Attempted like 8 people, only 3 were positive. We had a lot of laughs and I spoke way more. Not a lot, but more. I saw a cat that looked exactly like Daisy, and that's my cat that passed away right before the mission. It made me sad, but happy. Walking around here already feels normal. We stopped by the house of a family and gave the father a blessing of healing. Me and my district and I have my district and I have a lot of fun. They are very funny and they laugh at me a lot. We just played and sang Hotel California together. It was so fun. They play guitar muito. I've had the time of my life. We tried this yummy food and guava drink by Coke. I had diarrhea. I had to hold my poop for like 4 hours at least. I've gotten eaten alive by bugs, but hey, today my cum spoke with this woman for like 25 minutes and I fairly understood. I said an English prayer for the family and some teenage girls asked me in my comp to speak English. They were shocked and confused and I finally felt related to. The communities here are so loving. Everyone loves everyone else. They just played Sweet Child of Mine. So while I was writing that, obviously I was in the room with my comps, or the elders that I live with, and they were playing music. They did that every night, and then like pretty much every morning we would just play music. They both had guitars, the Brazilians, and then we would all just sing together. And then the poor American zone leader, he was like the most rule follower, like just straight as an arrow missionary. And that was a really good thing though, because he was like balancing me out because I was in training. So I see these 2 guys and they're not doing necessarily anything bad, but apparently they had just had like meetings about how that's not allowed. And actually soon after this, they had the official meeting where president said like, you guys are not allowed to play or listen to any music that is not from the church. And so, yeah. And so this elder American zone leader, he was just like, so like sitting there just studying while we're like, yeah, you know, Hotel California, you know, it was really funny. And now we laugh about it now, but it was great. Day 47, October 21st, 2022, black and white. So now we're naming the journal entries. Here we go. Today was very desculpa. Hoje foi muito bom e mal. Ninguém, na verdade, respondeu. Todo mundo nos falamos para foi random. So that was my Portuguese falling apart after 2 sentences. Anyways, that's completely wrong. We knocked on many doors and nobody answered. Some weren't home. Some didn't want to hear about it, so we weren't let into any homes. Mas, at the neighborhood playground, there were some kids playing basketball. We were easily crushed by the lady who called us angels and didn't show a breath of interest in the gospel. I jokingly mentioned playing basketball one-on-one with the older teens to wager a gospel lesson. My comp said, "All right, let's do it." We walked over and I played the 15/16-year-old kid and almost lost with my stupid outfit and shoes. But I won. And we taught a quick lesson to this group of guys that seemed to be our age and really respected us. The family we want to baptize didn't even call us. On our way to a quick last stop, I saw a group of young kids trying to get a ball off the roof. So I nodded to my comp and told him what I saw. We turned to them and helped them get their ball. Afterwards, we got their parents' contacts. We ate yummy caramels, doce. Then I tried grape drinks and went to the market this morning, made egg sandwiches, but at the end of the night, we wanted to stop at one more house. By the way, on the way there, my comp told me the 14th lesson in Preach My Gospel. Flirt to convert. But anyways, we entered this area that seemed pretty dead. My comp called him and he was really cool and said he was just visiting his mom's house next door. So he calls us over and without a second thought brings us into his home. I've never seen someone with so much love and hope for the gospel, and he was just wearing shorts and a chain. Best facial hair ever. We had an awesome lesson by my comp. We said our goodbyes soon after he agreed to be baptized. We walked for 5 minutes and had to be home in 10, but we were 30 minutes away. So then the same guy stops in the car and offers us a ride. He drove us home and they had a bunch of laughs. Black and white for sure. Wow. So yeah, chapter 14 of the Preach My Gospel, Flirt to Convert. That was a huge joke in my mission because, that's always a joke in every mission, right? Oh, you flirt to convert. Like, that's not a real thing. My comp told me about it because he said that's what we don't do. Just so you guys are aware. I don't want anyone out there being like, really, Elder? You really did that? Day 48, October 22nd, 2022. My first baptisms. Tomorrow, I baptize my first person. I am super excited. Portuguese roams around in my mind. Today, I spoke more to the people we are teaching. I messed up badly, but luckily Ibrahim has my back. We are fasting and it is the hardest thing ever. I am so thirsty and want the giant Coke I bought in the fridge. My money finally worked last night. I'm having tons of fun and it's getting tiring. My feet ache, my back hurts, and my laundry is wet. There is no dryer. This community is awesome. You can go to any business and they have to give you water. Heaven for mom. We have 3 baptisms lined up for next week. I have faith that we will get 5 more. My comp and the other guys we live with told me I have the best mentality and that many Americans get depressed and lose faith, but I've been working and receiving a greater testimony and strength. Yeah, for is that the first week or just the first couple days? I don't know. First couple days. It was only like the first 5 days. Me and my companion shared his money that he had half of left, so it was tight on the food area. Day 49, October 23rd, 2022. But if not. Today we woke up and Ibrahim told me I was baptizing both kids, and he wasn't even bringing his baptismal clothes. I was filled with gratidão. We traveled in an Uber to the house where we waited for 1 hour and then received a text that the wife couldn't take the kids because she was sick. Baptism canceled. Pain traveled through my comp and I. Instantly, God reminded me that Jesus Cristo and Him are always patient with me and everyone. So we must be patient with those we teach. And of course, my favorite "but if not" quote. Today in church, it was the primary program. All of these cute kids sang and gave little talks. A mom and daughter sang families can be together forever and made everyone cry. During the priesthood meeting, Ibrahim volunteered me to give an anointing demonstration. So that was super spiritual. We broke our fast during the baptism and ate cake and guaraná. Then we went to a member's house, set up a bunch of chairs, and ate a crap ton of food. Old lady and her daughter, blessing evil spirit, 12 projected baptisms. And then 12 projected baptisms was the faith I had to say that we had 12 projected baptisms, which was very unrealistic and probably not true, but hey, you can at least tell that the greenie faith is like the most powerful faith in the mission, by the way. Anyone who served in like anywhere in general, the greenie faith usually is like ideal faith. So, looks like I'm a copycat of myself. So the email's called Black and White. Date, 10/24/2022. Wow. I mean, wow. This email is going to be long, so just expect a lot. So, I'm out in the field. Traveled to Rio in the big ol' city. So many buildings I couldn't even count. so many people, and the fear of not knowing what anyone was saying. Gosh, that day was anxiety-filled. We arrived at the airport in Rio where the plane almost just flew into the ocean, and we all grabbed our bags, and our mission president and his wife were standing with a sign waiting for us. There were some missionaries with them. One spoke Portuguese and was Brazilian, the other spoke Portuguese but is American. I just sat there like a child wondering where we were going. They guided us to a bus and we all got in. We all asked questions for about 1 hour and 30 minutes to the missionary that is almost going home. He told us about the minimum standards and that the mission is just the best. And that the same day we flew in, we were going out and proselyting. What the heck? Who does this guy think I am? I can't even speak or understand Portuguese. Panic filled my mind and I just couldn't help but stare out my window at the absolutely massive city. We went to the mission president's home and ate some yummy food. Finally food that wasn't from the MTC. It was so amazing. We had some real mango juice, which was just super amazing. Then we piled literally 10 guys in a 7-seated car. It was super funny and we were all dying of laughter. Boom. We finally arrived at the mission office where we met our companions. Oh man, this is it. The moment to decide probably the next 3 months. I walk in after they call my name and all these Americans and Brazilians are clapping and excited for me to meet my companion. I see him and man, he looks Brazilian. I sit by him after the good old classic bro hug and we sit quietly because I am so nervous to even say anything. Then they took us out in the hallway and took a video to send to our parents to let them know that we are alive. Then after a short explanation of the mission, boom, me and my companion had an Uber and we were getting in. I sat there after packing my stuff in just wondering what was going on. So much was happening. We had a 2-hour drive to my area called Dreno. No idea where we were going, but we were not staying in the city. My companion was talking to the driver and I was trying to listen to see what he was saying. But there was a lot of words I couldn't understand. Honestly, I couldn't understand anything the driver was saying. But I was worried that Ibrahim, my companion, would bring me into the conversation. So as I was drifting in and out of sleep for 1 hour, I tried my best to stay awake so I wasn't already the guy to fall asleep on the first day. And I opened my eyes and Ibrahim is asleep. What the heck, man? It was so funny. I gladly just passed out after that. We wake up and he says we are here. I see some missionaries standing on the deck of a third world building. Everywhere around us, houses just in rubble and people still live in them. I sit there rubbing my eyes to make sure I am not sleeping. I wasn't. Culture shock was already hitting me. My companion ended up telling me that he speaks English and that was good to hear because I was so worried that I would just have to figure this whole Portuguese thing on my own. So with his help, I met my other roommates, who also are fluent in English. So I think I am the luckiest kid in the mission. These guys could all help me learn Portuguese. They are my zone leaders. Ibrahim is the district leader in our district, and by our district, I mean get ready for this, is us. No. And our district, I mean get ready for this, is us. The 4 guys sleeping in mattresses lined up against the wall 2 feet away from each other. Man, I saw the broken bathroom and the only one that works is like more disgusting than anything I have ever seen. The kitchen has a cruddy old stove and a fridge and a sink. I just had no clue what the heck I was doing there. The entire place was just third world. We have a washing machine for our clothes that hardly works and no dryer. I was just in shock. And the entire time I was getting situated and writing in my journal, the guys were all laughing and cutting each other's hair, speaking fluent Portuguese. So I didn't know what was happening at all. Ibrahim and I went and walked what felt like 10 years to the bank to get me some money after he showed me the Area Book app and how it works in Portuguese and had me send some messages and stuff. We walked all the way to the bank and my card didn't work, but the conversation I had with him in English was the beginning to a new friendship. We get home and I sit at my tiny desk with all my notebooks on it and begin writing my journal entry. I sit and tears fall on the pages, tears flowing down my face. I weep as those that are 10 feet in the other room are laughing and talking with one another. I couldn't communicate. What the heck was I doing? Why was I here? I really could use a hug from my mom right now. Some words that ripped me in half. Just a hug from my mom could comfort me from the massive shock I was living in. My first ever journal entry was the most negative, painful thing I have ever wrote. But even then, at the end of those last 2 sentences read, I am doing God's work, and I know why I am here. The only words keeping me going. I crawled into my twin mattress, almost touching those living with me, put my top sheet cover over me, and was definitely warm enough. We don't have a window, we have a square hole in the wall with some curtains. I fell asleep thinking and praying for mercy on my heart and my soul, hoping that I can figure this whole thing out at some point. I wake up. Almost like a movie, I sit up in a dim room as it was getting lit from the morning sun. I am exhausted, but I get on my knees and pray for a good day. We have study time till lunch, so I go in our room and read the Book of Mormon in Portuguese and open my old journals for some motivation. I am still dead. I see the advice from a Brazilian man in Utah who served his mission in Brazil. Wake up every day smiling. Just be happy. This advice was so crucial to my survival. I was still sick to my stomach, filled with pains and panic. As I was reading my journals, my companion picked up his guitar and started playing Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, a song my dad showed me long ago that was one of my favorites, and definitely one of his. I couldn't hold back the tears that silently slid down my face. God reminded me that I was meant to be here. Still, I couldn't fathom what this mission had in store for me. Everyone stands up and starts packing their stuff in their proselyting bags, and we are leaving, I guess. Not even being told where we are going and why I quickly throw some stuff in my bag, and Ibrahim throws me the keys. I guess I am the key guy now. Let's go. We all hop into an Uber that got called, and I thought the drivers in Sao Paulo were scary, but man, these people, they just drive, you know? We end up getting to this man's house. It was a member, and he was gonna feed us. He was very welcoming and kind, even though I didn't understand anything that he was saying to the three others. We sat down and ate some pretty dang good food. Then for dessert, he brought out mango. Oh my gosh, I love mango. I have never had it fresh. He just barely had cut it up and it was the size of my head. It was so juicy and delicious. Apparently it's the main fruit they eat here, so I pretty much was in heaven. We said our goodbyes and walked down this dirt road for some time, and I looked up and saw a horse. Sister. My heart was full. God once again reminded me I was meant to be here. Of course, I got a photo, and then there was also 3 stray dogs playing around together, reminding me of my 3 dogs from home. We got home and didn't go back into our house. We stood outside and went our separate ways. Ibrahim and I were going to talk to referrals. That day we spoke to I think about 7 people. 2 let us in their homes, but Ibrahim gave every one of them our message while I smiled and tried my best to say some things. It was so hard to be confident or even happy because I couldn't say anything. I couldn't love these people with my words or even help in the lessons. Nothing super special was happening this day besides walking 100 miles. But then we have our last house that I was just hoping we would go home. I was just tired and needed to write in my journal to vent. We knock on the door and yell her name, which is what you do in Brazil. If they don't have a door and it is open, you just clap. Everyone here is super welcoming, and even if they aren't super smiling, they will listen to your entire message before saying no. Anyways, this woman comes to the door and has the biggest smile. She had lost contact with the missionaries a short time ago, and she was filling my heart with the Spirit. She had the light of Christ. I sat there and held back so many tears. She took us to her porch on the 2nd floor. We sat and gave her and her family a lesson. Her kids are so adorable and really love their mom. She had this excitement, this joy to hear our message, to have salvation. This was the moment I needed. God reminded me one last time why I am really here. My heart was more full of love and the Spirit than it ever had been before. I wanted this family to be together forever. I wanted them to have eternal life. Ibrahim gestured to me to say the closing prayer. I said the prayer, gave our handshakes goodbye, and walked out the door. Ibrahim turns to me as we walked up the rough, messy street and said, "Well, we have 3 potential baptisms this Sunday." I could not help but be filled with joy. This is why I'm here. I love this work. I had to tell the whole first day story because this is when my mission turned into my mission. This is when I knew why I was here. God erased all worries I once had. By doing what He asked, they were delivered unto me. Now I am going to just talk about some highlights and main big things. Every day seemed to flow together into one big beautiful moment. I played basketball one-on-one against some teenagers in a neighborhood court. If they lost, they had to hear our message and they gladly accepted. I won. They then sat there and 4 guys listened to our message and we got their contacts. We talked to so many different people throughout the week, it is very difficult to keep track of them. By the end of the week, we had 3 guaranteed baptisms. 1 fell through on Saturday because one of his friends passed away and his funeral was on Sunday, but he really wants to be baptized this week for sure. Then the other 2 are the kids to the amazing woman we spoke with on day 2. They signed the papers, got situated, we got up early to go get them in the morning, and they weren't answering the calls. They didn't answer the door. We sat there for 1 hour waiting for them. Then finally the dad sends us a text saying the mom who was going to take the kids because the dad had to work was sick. Whether or not this was true, they didn't end up making it. Pain filled our hearts, and we walked 45 minutes in silence to the church. The primary program during church helped fill our hearts right back up. The culture of the church in Santa Cruz is amazing. It is so beautiful and welcoming. They all love each other so much. As me and Ibrahim were walking quietly to the church, I was thinking on why this had to happen. So many attempted lessons with the family, so many times not home, So many prayers in my heart during our last lesson to get them to be baptized. So many attempts and they still didn't get baptized. Then God reminded me, there are times I have agreed to do what He has told me, and many times I have fell through on my promises to Him. So many times He knocked on the door and I didn't answer. So many prayers He has had for me that I took for granted. Yet He is still patient with me. So I shall be patient with those that I teach, because I am like them. I also have to remember, faith isn't, I have faith this will happen. It is actually, I have faith this will happen, but if not, etc. But if not. Very important. Next week, we will baptize the whole family. We spoke to a woman and her daughter yesterday, and my companion ended up blessing her and telling whatever spirit was in the home needs to leave because the home was haunted. And with my lack of Portuguese, I didn't even know it was haunted and mentioned it to Ibrahim after that it seemed as if there was a spirit in there that was not good. He told me what he said in the blessing and that the lady had told him that there was a spirit there. So pretty cool. I just was told by the Holy Ghost during the lesson. I gave an anointing of the sick blessing in Portuguese. We gave a guy a blessing when he was sick. I prayed a lot in Portuguese. The family wanted me to pray in English once. All the kids love it when we speak English. We helped some kids get their ball off a roof, and then we got some contacts of their parents. Next week, we have projected 12 baptisms. Hopefully they all succeed, but usually a lot fall through when you have a number this high. But one soul is more than enough. So I know we are baptizing that whole family. I know we are baptizing this other family. And I know we are baptizing the lady and her daughter. I know we are baptizing the man we spoke to, whose friend died this week. We will have baptisms, and they will be so, so beautiful. The Spirit will fill my heart, and I will know once again I am doing the Lord's work. If you want to hear more about my stories or have any questions, please email me. I would love to hear from you guys. Ciao, ciao. Wow. A lot of crazy stories, a lot of crazy things that happened, guys. I mean, this journey in general was one of the most challenging and intense weeks of my life. But it's very beautiful to see that within that first week, going from first impressions and suffering and difficulty, that even though I was still suffering the same tribulations and trials, I was able to have this mentality, in the end. And that is nothing short of a miracle. And it was in reality only God who could have carried me that way. And He blessed me so perfectly in such amazing and perfect circumstances to learn what I needed to learn and to live like the missionary I needed to be. And I'm so very grateful for that. And if there are any lessons from today, the main ones are, God and Jesus, they are patient with us. They were so patient with us. They are. We promised them so many things. I promised God personally to not do so many different things. And yet I do them. And yet I fall and I fail. And there's been, like I said, so many times I'm sure that Jesus has been knocking at the door and I have not answered. And so that was my inspiration and my reason and my revelation to why we needed to be patient with our investigators. And in my mission, I will say personally, in the culture of my mission, it was really hard for elders and sisters to understand that. They would get very frustrated when people would fall through. They'd get very frustrated when people wouldn't kind of do, I guess, what they were expecting to happen, which is obviously upsetting, right? That's okay to be upset. But it's not okay to be upset at the person necessarily. It's more okay to be upset at the situation, right? Because the person is just in the same situation that we are. We are equal to them, even as missionaries. We are the same type of people. We are all failures and we all fall, and we all make mistakes, and we all lack the ability to be perfect. So if they are just choosing not to go to church, you don't need to get offended or mad at them. I mean, you can be frustrated that happened and that's the situation, but the reality is we need to be patient with other people. So don't get mad at people. Get mad at the situation. Get mad that Satan exists. Get mad that the devil tempts people, and get mad that the natural man is the enemy. And the natural man is in all of us, not just in somebody else. We are no better than anyone else. Nobody is better than anyone else. We are all the same. And so one of the big lessons that I've brought home with me is that, people make mistakes, and when they do, it's easy just to be like, you know what? It's sad that mistake happened, that they had to make that choice, but I don't blame them. It was their choice, yes, and I can be kind of frustrated that whatever occurred, but I can't not have patience with them and not love them and not forgive them as soon as they ask for forgiveness. Honestly, you're supposed to just forgive in the moment, and I'd say I'm not perfect, so I don't usually forgive very quickly or right in the moment, but I try to forgive as soon as I can anybody who wronged me and has wronged me in the past year of being home. Reality is, like I said, we are all equal. And we fall short with God, and He still loves us. So when people fall short with us, we need to still love them. Last but not least, this lesson was he was in my district in the MTC. I don't remember where he pulled this from. I'm sure it's from somebody specific. I'm not going to go look it up right now. But there's that whole quote, "but if not." And that is something very important that I lived by in my mission a lot of the time, because like I said, you can expect so many different things to happen, and you can have these high expectations and this big faith, which is really good. But if it's not the will of the Lord or the will of God, or if it doesn't happen because a person chooses to make a bad decision, because that's just how it works, we have to be able to understand that that's the "but if not." We can have faith and we can say, "I have faith that this will happen." And this is a really hard thing to talk about, because it's kind of conflicting with what we believe, right? We believe if I have faith, this will happen. This will happen. This will happen. But the issue is that God's will always stand above any sort of faith or desires we have. And so if my faith, for example, I do have a faith and a desire to be successful in life and have enough money that I can travel with my family and do what I want, right? And enjoy my life and have the time back in my life by having money to kind of give myself time, right? Now that is an awesome thing to have faith in and to believe in and to want and to strive for and to desire for. But if it ends up being God's will that I live a mid to low income life my whole life, I need to be okay with that. And I need to say, you know what? I have this faith. I have so much faith that I'm going to be a successful entrepreneur and a successful businessman. And I'm going to make all this money, and I'm going to be grateful for it. I'm going to know that it all came from God, and it's going to be this amazing thing. I'm going to spend all this time with my family. We're going to travel the world. It's going to be amazing. But if not, I really will still be grateful and still have faith in God and know that it was His desire that I lived a different way. Now that is real faith in God and real faith in the Lord. That is actually how your faith should be formatted and set up, right? Because no matter what, if it's the will of God that thing does not happen, you have to have something to fall onto. And that's what the Lord is for. That's what Jesus Christ is for, the Savior. That's what He's for, right? But we need to have that ingrained in our brains. But if not, I'll fall back upon you guys and I'll continue pushing forward with faith in something else, or into whatever direction you have to point me, right? Because there's some things that no matter how badly we want them to happen, and how badly and how much faith we have and how much belief, oh my gosh, I'm just so overpowered with this belief, they're not going to happen because it's just not God's will, right? It's not God's will. For example, this is a dumb example, but a really common one in RMs, for this whole last year until recently, I had been searching for my wife. I had this much faith. I was like, she's coming. I'm here. I'm ready. My wife is going to show up. I promise. I'm going to find her. This is it. And she never came. And then I meet a girl and I was like, I have faith that she could be the one, not the one. And next girl, I have faith that she could be the one, not the one. Faith that she could be the one, not the one. A girl that almost really seemed like she was the one, like straight up, like, oh wow, okay, I have this much faith, huge faith. She's the one, not the one, not the one. And because I was not living this but if not mentality and principle, I promise you that process was a lot more painful and depressing and sad than it needed to be. If I had put that but if not at the end of those, at the end of everything, I would have had a much more secure transition into whatever was coming next. But instead it had to be, I shot really high and I just crashed, right? Instead of just like going up and then just coming down, right? Up and just slam down, right? When we don't have the but if not, it's just up and down. But if we have the but if not, we go up and then we just come down and we go and it's just a smooth transition. There's no rough, turbulence. There's nothing. It's comfortable. That is the most important thing from today's emails, from today's journal entries. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. I'm so very grateful that I can give these messages to you, though it wasn't as super deep spiritual and kind of emotional spiritual as last episode. I really hope you enjoyed the stories, enjoyed kind of the first glimpses and looks at what the missionary life is like. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity I have to be doing this and to be enjoying myself while doing this and to be enjoying my time talking about something so special to me and relearning all these lessons with you guys, because reality is this is really a lot, just as much for me as it is for you guys. So thank you very much for coming by, stopping by, listening for however long you did. I'm trying to make these shorter, and today was my test run. I was going to say, you know what, can I make this shorter? But honestly, this is just as long as yesterday's, and yesterday's was the longest one. So we're gonna try to get them shorter. If they become 10 minutes, are you guys going to watch them more? That's my question, because personally, I don't know if I could watch a 30-minute video of someone talking, but if it was 10, I think I could like really attach myself to it and then leave. So I'm going to try to get it down to 10 minutes if I can. It will be just a lot more episodes throughout the week. So I don't know how we're going to do this, guys. Give me your opinions if you have an idea. But anyways, don't you ever, 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 ever forget that you do have potential for prosperity. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.